Guys, this is Caleb from the Two Old Guys Reselling Podcast. Wanted to let you know that today's podcast, we had some internet issues from wind and rain storms that we had yesterday. So my quality is horrible. Josh, Bama Jaybird Resell, his quality was okay, but we both are kind of close in location and had some issues. But we still wanted to put out the podcast. The audio is fine. You can hear it great. I'm out of sync. My picture's kind of bad, but I apologize for that, but I still wanted you to have a show to watch today, so we'll put it out. But just wanted to give you that heads up before the show started. Enjoy the Two Old Guys Reselling Podcast. Thanks, guys. Welcome, everyone, to the Two Old Guys Reselling Podcast. I am Caleb, your host, temporarily, hopefully not too long. And Chris, we're praying for you, wishing you well, and can't wait for you to get back. But until he gets back, the plan is we're going to have some guest hosts on the show. This week, it is none other than Josh, the Bama Jaybird Reseller. Introduce yourself to everybody, Josh.
Okay, hey guys, what's up? So I am Josh. I go by Bama Jaybird Resell on YouTube. Also use that on Instagram. Facebook, I just go by my name, Josh Terry. So if you look me up on there, I think I've started making a few connections with some of the resellers on there. So you're welcome to send out an invite on there, and I'll be glad to accept it if I don't see you first. On eBay, it's the same thing. My store is Bama Jaybird Resell, and I do have TikTok. I don't do much on it, not yet. I've done a few videos, but I'm looking to maybe start working on that a little bit too, just cross posting some of the shorts that we do for YouTube. So we'll see how it goes.
Awesome. I have never in my life been on TikTok. I don't even know what it looks like. So I might be a little bit too old for that one. I'm not sure.
No, look, man, people wouldn't even believe probably like I'm 43. But to have grown up in the generation of cell phones,
she was older than me. Wow. I thought you were younger than me.
Yeah, I'm 43. So, but to grow up in that generation and to be around all that technology, I didn't have a cell phone till I think about 10 years ago.
Wow.
And then, I didn't have a smartphone until, I'm on my second one, I think, my second smartphone. So, and then I had no social media whatsoever besides one of those ghost accounts on Facebook so that I could look at Marketplace up until this last 6 months. So all this is brand new for me too. That's the point.
Well, I remember when I started on Facebook, and a lot of people probably think that's weird about me too, because our church, when COVID hit, we was just an old country church. We didn't have any kind of internet, nothing. We didn't have internet at the church. We didn't have telephone. It's just an old church, and we got internet and we got a Facebook account. Well, I put it through my account. There's a church page too, but started recording the services where people could watch it that couldn't come, that sort of thing. But I didn't even have a Facebook account before then. And, Instagram came along. I had one a while back, but Instagram took so much of my attention. I'm like, I got to get off of this thing. So I left my account behind. Well, when the podcast started back up, or when the podcast started and we started growing and I started the Old Pass channel, I'm like, I'm going to have an Instagram account for these giveaways. That's one way of communicating. So started that back up, I put my email, my Old Pass email on the description of my shows. That way people can either contact me that way or Instagram or Facebook. I'm like you. I don't really have a Old Pass Facebook. I just have my personal account and it's linked to, but yeah, I was tech savvy growing up. I had the computers and I didn't really have cell phones because that didn't really kick in. Our generation was the Nokias and, the first line of cell phones. And if you had one, you was paying like $80 or $90 a month just for 5 minutes of talk time, so you couldn't afford to talk on nights and weekends only. It was about
that's what I told That's what I told people living around here. I said, what's the point? I said,
Uh,
there's nowhere I go where I even have service. I mean, I'll be paying a bill just to carry it in my pocket and say, I got a cell phone. Look at this, so,
that's right.
I mean, we didn't have any service at our church during COVID. We still didn't have any service there at all. It was dead as a doornail. So, that wasn't even an option for us to do anything stream wise. We actually, did the thing that a lot of churches did where we kind of did the drive up services, where people could come up and put their windows down, and we just set up a little speaker system outside. And so I'd lead worship, and then the preacher would be a few feet from me and come out and preach. And we left the doors open. So if somebody wanted to pray, they could go up, into the church to pray.
Yeah.
But I mean, we had to get creative for sure. I mean, everybody I think was doing things that were new to them.
Absolutely. And guys, just a little secret. I don't know if I didn't ask him if I could do this, but if you friend him on Facebook, go down a little ways on his page. He sings a song on there. And man, you talk about a guy that can sing now.
Oh man.
He can sing. You
Well,
do good at that. That was a good song.
I grew up, not this is relevant to reselling, but I grew up in a kind of a musical family.
That's all about.
Yeah.
Nothing relevant to reselling.
Well, I mean, I just my mom, she played piano, and my dad played guitar, and he sang he was in the Navy for 22 years, retired.
Oh,
and
wow.
He was in a band nearly the whole time, lead singer. And so for a country band, and then did bluegrass when he got out and played guitar. So I grew up around music. My uncles, they played and sang. And I was actually first time in a quartet. I was like 6 years old with my two brothers and
Oh,
one of
wow.
my cousins. And so grew up singing quartet music. I traveled with the group when I was in college across the Southeast. And they had won the amateur competition at the National Quartet Convention right before I joined. Their lead singer got a full-time singing job with another group. And
Wow.
so that's always been a big part of who I am. But mostly I've just led worship at church, and that's been I felt more called to do that than I did to be away from home. That's
Wow.
a big decision.
That's pretty neat. That's pretty neat, though. I mean, I think it takes a special person to get up there and lead singing and all that kind of stuff, because it's a daunting task our church ain't very big. We got like 50 people, but if you're trying, even 50 people, you're trying to lead them in unison and get them on the same page, literally,
right.
It can be a job sometimes. So I applaud you for that.
Yeah. The secret is don't stop singing, because then you realize how many people aren't.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Sing loud and don't stop.
So now we've introduced you. That accent has to be a Southern boy accent. Now I know where you're from, but tell all of our listeners where you're from.
Yeah, I'm from Alabama. I was actually I was born in Orlando, Florida.
Really?
That's where my dad was stationed, but my brothers lived there, like in Orlando, right next to Disney World. Did all that stuff. He was there for 8 years before he retired, but I was on the way. So my dad was getting out of the Navy. He had to go back out to sea, and my mom basically hung around until I was born. And the day that I got released, my uncle picked us up, and we came to Alabama, and I've been here ever since. So,
oh wow,
I had 3 whole days,
3 days in Florida, huh?
Yeah, that was it.
Wow. Well, that's pretty cool. I'm a Tennessee boy. I've never lived anywhere else ever. I grew up in a little town called Crab Orchard, which is 15 to 20 minutes east of here. And of course, Crossville, everybody's probably heard that on this show 15 times, because the 127 cell comes literally. I mean, we are one of the biggest parts of the 127 cell right through where I live. 127 is literally probably 2 minutes from my house. I can be there on 127 that quick. So, yeah, I've been through Alabama a bunch of times. Not in a while, not in probably a few years, but yeah, we probably ain't too far away from each other.
No, I mean, in this country where I'm at, I mean, I'm very rural. We're, the closest town here in the county I live in is about 20-25 minutes. And I mean, it's just barely big enough to have a Walmart. And that's really about all it has, about 3 fast food restaurants and a Walmart.
Wow.
But Tuscaloosa is like 45 minutes away where the university is. and then we got another town that's about the same distance. So that's usually where I have to go to, one of those two places, like to source or even yard sales. I mean, there's just not many out in the country. So I'm
so you
on,
really,
yeah,
you're
I'm on
earning.
13 acres surrounded by cows, man.
Oh wow, so you're earning your eBay money.
Yeah.
You're definitely earning it.
Well, when I told you I was outsourcing, when you go, I mean, and I know everybody does it different, but like for me, like if I go and it's thrifting, you really do need to try to plan to make a day of it, because by the time you drive, if I could just stop on my way through here and there, it'd be one thing.
Yeah.
But to kind of make up for the gas money, you got to really make the trip worthwhile. There's a lot of pressure, really feeling like you've got to make it a successful day every time you go.
Man, yeah. We kind of take that for granted around here. When I say I'm 2 minutes from 127, I'm 2 minutes from Walmart. And I mean, we're in the country too. I don't have 13 acres. I don't have nowhere near that, but I'd love to have 13 acres. But I have well, I won't say exactly where, but I have big fields all around me. And we feel like if you look in my backyard, you're in the country. It's still country,
Right.
but I'm like a mile outside of the town. So we're fortunate. And I mean, I guess our thrift stores have really done a number on us in the last couple of years. A lot of the older people that ran them have retired or died out or whatever. So this new bunch that's coming through, they're kind of raising prices. And
yeah,
we got a Goodwill probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that. And when that place opened, it was awesome. Like you could go in there. We went in there and spent $200-300 several times.
Yeah.
And walked out with tons and tons of stuff. Now you go in there, you're lucky if you're buying anything.
Wow.
And it's not just the prices. I don't know if people have caught on to the stuff and they come in at certain times, but I don't go enough to know the tricks, because I'm sure our town is full of resellers. We've got tons of them. And I know they probably go in there, at least a few times a week, stuff like that. And if you want to source clothing, man, that Goodwill, the prices are a little bit higher than what I've seen your places, but like a $4 shirt, $5 shirt, stuff like that. But they've got the building's probably 100 feet wide by probably 150 feet long. And they've got racks from one side to the other of clothing. Half the building is clothing. So there's a ton of clothes.
Yeah.
And I watch your videos and I'm like, I would totally quit eBay. I would 100% quit reselling if I had to make a living on clothing. So
yeah,
I applaud you, because I hate clothes and I hate shoes with a passion.
Look, and I think that's the thing. I mean, for me, I know I've said this in my videos, and I think it's Chris that kind of, coined that phrase. You sell what you can source, so to speak. Sell what you find. It'd be great to only sell the stuff that we really love ourselves, and some people are able to do that where they live. They have enough access, but man, for me, I just have to find stuff that will sell. To have enough to make a living or try to make a living. I don't know if I'm there yet or not. But
that brings me to my next question. So how did you get started on eBay?
Well, I think I said this when I was on with Rocky Top. My dad, actually in the late 90s when eBay was really young, him and my sister-in-law started an eBay store. And so I've known about eBay and been around it for a very long time. They ran that for probably 6-7 years. And they specialized he loved, like pottery, like McCoy and, Hull and stuff like that. He also, trying to think, they did quilts. Like quilts were really big for a while. And out here, like a lot of the hand quilted, from like the flour sacks and stuff like that. But he went to estate sales, yard sales, thrift stores. They sourced, all over, and I tagged along a lot. But for myself personally, I never started doing it myself. I wish I would have. I don't know why I didn't. But then it was during 2020, I had started watching a lot of the reselling content that was on at the time. And of course, some of them are the really big names now, but they were just getting started then. And so, I started watching them. I kind of watched, I watched Harry Tornado as he went from being without a job to deciding to do eBay, and just saw the success that he had. Of course, Kevin Commonwealth Picker, the success that he had, being able to switch over from teaching to doing reselling full time. And so kind of just started formulating that plan. And so we actually, I had a little bit of money that I kind of set aside for building an inventory. And I don't know, maybe I do things different, but I'm real analytical. So I approached it the fall before 2021. We actually started going out to the garage sales and stuff like that, and thrift store some. And I started trying to just really cherry pick and build some decent inventory, planning to launch. I didn't want to do taxes for 2 months worth of reselling. That's what I didn't want to do, but planning to launch January 1st. And so I had plenty of inventory, because everybody says, get stuff before winter, which is pretty true, other than a thrift store.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's how I started. I started doing it just very part-time, just as a side hustle, trying to learn how to do it and how to do it well. Trying to educate myself on, instead of just jumping in and throwing a bunch of stuff up there and getting lost or getting overwhelmed, I tried to move at a pace that I could really know and feel comfortable with what I was doing. And so, built from there. And, the more we done it, the more we saw the potential, and we started having conversations probably a year and a half ago. And so in 2020, my dad had been passed away now for, I think, 12 or 13 years, but my mom had remarried, and it was a man from our church, and a super nice guy, but both of them got COVID. Long story short, he wound up passing away in August of 2020. And my mom had already been diagnosed with dementia, and it wasn't real advanced. It was kind of mid stages. She had to start taking medicine for it. And so she had to have, we couldn't let her drive, certain things like that.
Right.
She wasn't a danger to herself or anything like that yet, but we also were taking that on. And so kind of the two of those things, seeing the potential, my mom needing more time from us. It kind of become necessary. And we saw eBay kind of grow and saw its potential. We absolutely were not to where I could replace my income, but my wife works and is a nurse, and we knew we could pay our bills off of that. So this summer, kind of with 2 weeks before school started, I made a trip up to the central office after calling the superintendent and sat down and talked, and I resigned. And so we took on eBay as a full-time project and caring for my mom, trying to make sure that we're prepared for when we have to. Hopefully we can take her in without having to, put her in a nursing home or something like that. That's our goal.
Wow. Well, that's a really good reason to do it. I mean, taking care of your family and being available, that's one thing I've noticed from when I left my full-time job until now. The availability in your schedule is a very nice thing to have.
Right.
Because I like to plan out, and, Monday morning, I like to come up here at 8:30 and get going and try to draft a bunch of stuff up, do my packing, whatever I got to do. But I also like if I get called away, I can just go, because before that, I've been pastoring the same church for right at 10 years now, the only church I've ever pastored. And for the first 8 years of that, I worked full time. So if somebody needed something midday, it was either leave work early, take vacation time, whatever, or you just can't go until you get off work. And, you can't always leave if somebody's already gone or they have a need or whatever, they won't always let you leave work. So that was, to me, the nicest part. I guess one of the nicest parts. I like the freedom to do what I want to do, and I like everything about it, but the availability of the schedule, and like what you're talking about, with your mom, you can kind of, if you need to work second shift one night, you can kind of do that. If you get up a little earlier one day, you can do that. So that part makes it really nice.
Right. And that was the issue, because I know, like with teaching, my schedule was very conducive to family time. And, I have I didn't use sick time hardly ever. So if I needed to take a day off, I could. but it's not the same. Like, there were times like, I got a call the last year that I worked. I got a call and my mom she was missing. Nobody knew where she was. I ended up having to call, the sheriff's department in the county where she lives. She lives about 15 minutes from me, just over a county line. And so they had missing person stuff on Facebook and trying to, and we thought she had walked off. We didn't know she walked in the woods. Somebody had picked her up. We didn't know what had happened. I mean, and for several hours, we were just in a panic, and we had people at her house, people at my house. And, we hadn't had anything like that happen before. There wasn't, but my brother lives at the house with her right now, but he works in the mine. So he works second shift. And so he comes in late, like at 11 o'clock at night, sleeps, gets up for about 3 hours and goes back to work. He works 6 days a week. He's not there a lot. So from 11 till about 3, mom was by herself. And then I would get off work and go down and, take care of her, do medicines, dinner and all that stuff. But within that time frame, there we were. Well, come to find out, all that happened is my uncle stopped by and picked her up and took her to eat and brought her to his house. And they were just visiting and hanging out and enjoying themselves. And she told him that, I told the boys where I'd be, but she didn't tell us. And so we were scared to death. But it made us realize how important it was, because, I was fortunate that my boss just let me leave right then. He said, I'll cover it. Just go do what you got to do. But I knew I couldn't be doing that all the time. And the more we thought about it, man, that flexibility, like you said, to be able to, at a moment's notice, if I'm listening, I can drop at any time. I don't have to be doing anything I'm doing here at that moment. I can work any hour, any time of the day I need to work to get my job done with this. And I like that. And man, it's made it a lot easier to be there when mom needs us. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's awesome that you guys are taking care of your mom like that too. As a pastor, and you probably say the same thing, just you see a lot of people that talk a good game, but when it comes crunch time, they're not always there, so. And
I mean, and I'm not going to lie to you, man, it's hard.
Oh yeah.
It's hard. We talk about it a lot, me and my wife, and it's, and I'm not complaining. I don't want to complain or throw things off on it. My mom my middle brother, he was in a car accident at 18 years old. And I saw my mom and dad just absolutely put their life on hold for 8 years while he was in a wheelchair, and take care of him day and night, get up all through the night and turn him. And, cause he wasn't paralyzed. He was like semi-comatose. So he never regained the ability to get up and walk around. And, but I mean, they had to bathe him, had to do everything for him. He's fed through a tube. And so for 8 years, that was basically all my time through high school. That was my life from about 11 till about 19, when he passed away. And, but I watched them, just be willing to do whatever it took to make sure he was taken care of, and prioritize that over their own personal, goals or whatever they had planned. And I mean, it has an impact on you, and I mean, it's a good example, and I'm appreciative of that. And I don't know if we'll forever be able to do what we're doing. We do our best. It's hard to be up 24 hours. She's getting to where she wants to walk. And I mean, if you go to sleep, anytime you're asleep, there's always a chance something can happen. And so we're really kind of in a place now we're having to look at what we can do, either to hire sitters or possibly even have to make a different choice if her safety becomes an issue. But
absolutely,
we're doing all we can, and God knows we love her and we're trying. And but it does dictate your life, is what I was trying to say. It becomes the thing that your life is centered around, and everything else is planned around that. I mean, we can't do between 3 and 5 o'clock every afternoon. We have to be free because she has to have dinner. She has to have medicine. And so we can't, we can't move from that,
Right. Yeah, I understand. All right. Let's, I'm not good at segues. They all talk about,
you're good.
They talk about, hey, speaking of whatever. Yeah, really. I'm real good.
It works.
So I want to ask you, what is your favorite either category or type of item to sell on eBay?
Whatever makes the most money. I don't know. I mean, honestly, and I've said it in my videos. I mean, we shouldn't be ashamed. We're doing this to try to make a living. So, I mean, at the end of the day, now if I could, and I know what you're getting at, and if I could only source like probably vintage toys is one of my favorite things. The things that match my childhood. If I could only source that stuff, a constant supply of it, and resell it, keep what I wanted and sell what I wanted, that'd be awesome. But I mean, my goodness, it's just once in a blue moon I run across any of that stuff that's worth reselling anyway. So, but I do enjoy the hunt for the toys. So it's one of the first places I'll visit in a thrift store. I go there. Also, it might sound peculiar, but I also will walk the aisle that has like the cookware and stuff on it, because I'm a big cook. I love to cook. I cook nearly every meal we eat here. And my mom was an amazing cook. My aunt ran a restaurant. Several of my aunts and family members worked there growing up. So I've been around. If you see me in person, I've got a great relationship with food.
This is where we appreciate This is where we appreciate all of our Spotify and Apple and Amazon listeners. You guys can't see that we're healthy boys.
Oh, man.
No, I like toys. Yeah, toys are great, man. And around here it's kind of the same. It's real hit and miss, but you will find a lot of toys, but are they good toys?
Right.
You can find a toy that'll sell for $3.99, but is it worth your time to try to sell 10 $3.99 toys a day, or would you rather sell two $50 toys? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
You got to evaluate that.
I've got a tub. I'll tell you that you said something about reselling stores. I've got a tub. It's probably been here for 2 years now that it's full of stuff. And so this made me think it was going to be a lot different than it is. But we were at one of the thrift stores, me and my wife, and I was looking at the toys that were on the shelves. And, they do the bags, that they staple and hang on the wall. And she was just kind of looking, filtering through some of that stuff. And, and she doesn't do a lot of looking up or researching or anything. But anyway, I'm looking over there, looking at some dinosaurs, Jurassic Park stuff, trying to decide whether or not they were worth getting. She walks up with a bag and says, "I think these are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You think they're any good?" There's like 3 of them in the bag for $2.99. I look at them. They're like first generation stuff, like late 80s, early 90s, I was like, yeah, those are awesome. And so I went back to look, and I figured it was just a random bag. She come back over with another bag, had like 5 in it. I was like, are you kidding me? And it's like all the other characters and stuff. And so the third time she made a trip, okay, I thought, well, maybe I should walk over there. I finished what I was doing. By the time I got over where she was, she had a bag of G.I. Joes that were like the made in Taiwan, like the 1980s, like 1980, 1960. And so someone had unloaded, evidently, and brought down to the thrift store. And we went up with like 12 bags of like vintage G.I. Joes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all these action figures. And I thought, man, this reselling stuff's going to be pretty easy. This ain't going to be such a big deal. That hadn't happened again since.
Yeah.
So
that's called the Holy Grail type stuff. And, wouldn't we all love to find that like every weekend?
Oh yeah, you'd have it made.
Tanya, I tell the story, a little bit on our channel over there. I think I talk about it this episode that's coming out today, and she made a really huge score on silverware, and I don't exaggerate when I say this, and I almost feel bad that we didn't pay more now, but I it's one of them things that you didn't know what you were buying until you got it home and done your research and that type deal. And, you can't always help that. And I don't even feel bad anyway, because, you're buying a risk, and you're buying, you're buying risk reward, you're buying work is what you're doing. You got to clean it and put it up. And so I don't feel bad, but, at the same time, it's like, well, we made a ton, but after I got all that listed, and one thing about that silverware was it was so much of the same stuff. It was like 8 or 10 listings, maybe 15, something like that. But it was like probably a quantity of like 60 or 70, 80 different things. But we spent $40 on it, and it came out to be $10K almost, like $9,700, $9,800. And I told her, I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, well, I mean, who would, first of all, if you're familiar with Scott and Christina at Trading Post Pickers, Christina is the queen of silverware. Like, she has tons and tons and tons of silverware. She sold a fork the other day and put it on Facebook and Instagram and everything. Or I seen on Facebook. I'm not sure about Instagram. But one fork, she sold it for $51. And I was
Holy
like, who in this world
man.
needs a $51 fork? You know, I don't
Golly.
I don't have that kind of money that I could buy a $50
Hey,
fork.
if I had a drawer full of them right now, I'd sell every one of them.
I'd use plastic from now on. Never have another.
We do it a lot anyway.
Oh, we do too.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just crazy. And when we brought this stuff home, you know, I was really dreading it. To be honest, I was like, Tanya, this is such a waste of time. Why did we buy? We wasted $40. You know, why did we do this? Because there was tons of it. I'm talking 500 plus pieces. So I start looking it up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this can't be real. I mean, I know how to comp, but is this real? Did this really sell for this?
I understand.
You know, and I'm like, this can't be right. So I start listing stuff, and some of it's over $100 a listing. Some of it's like 80, 90 bucks a listing. Some of it's $40, $50 a listing. Some of it's normal, $20, $30, you know, but yeah, at the end of the day, it was like $9,800 of inventory. And I told her, I'm like, I am now a fan of silverware.
Yeah.
And I've actually bought some since that day. We went to a yard sale, and I don't know if this ever happens to you, but this woman, she just must not have liked me. I don't know. I try to be really nice to everybody, you know, and I guess maybe at a yard sale, I do kind of have a presence. Like, I'm here to buy stuff, and I'm not really here to talk. I'm here to buy stuff. So maybe that was it. I don't know, but
it's business for sure.
It's business. So I walk in, and she had two really good VCR DVD combo players, you know, like the $100 deals. And I'm like, how much are the VCR DVD players? And she looks at me and she says, I'll do 50 a piece. I'm like, oh, you know, like, no, I can't buy that. I can't go that high. So I just kind of walk away. Other people are asking, and they're getting normal prices, like normal-ish. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Does she hate me or something? You know?
Wow.
And Tanya, she's walking through there, and I found a big thing of silverware. I'm like, Tanya, come here. You know, because I'd ask about 2 or 3 things, and I'm getting high prices every time. I said, ask how much this silverware is. She asks about it. The woman says, oh, $3. I'm like, okay, grab it. You know, take it. And I ended up buying a couple things, but I'm telling you, everything was like 3 to 4 times higher for me. Right. I don't know what I did to that lady. I don't know.
You know, that's one of those things too. I think sometimes when they kind of, from observation, if they're familiar with reselling and they catch wind that you are a reseller or they think you are, I think they automatically, like you said, they price different than they do if it's just going to somebody's house. And and maybe not even to be, you know, belligerent, but you know, it's just the way it goes. But the good thing about that, if you start doing film for your other channel, I mean, those videos like that, as far as thumbnail and title, they make the absolute best videos. I mean, you'll get the most clicks for those than you will any of them.
And that was, of course, one of the ones I didn't have my camera. If I'd have had my camera, I might have understood why she was doing all that. You know? Yeah. I've not had. Every time I've had my camera at yard sales, it's always been pleasant, good, wonderful. And I'm glad. I'm not complaining about that. But I've not really had anything of note to say, oh man, you got to see this. This was crazy, you know, like a lot of them do. And I don't know. You know, I was just glad Tanya was there with me to be able to get the price.
I don't know why it is. I don't know if it's this way with you. And I know not everyone is that way from watching YouTube, but it is, there is a little bit of awkwardness in the announcement of, oh, I resell, you know, when people see the camera or when people, you know, ask you, you know, when you're there, what do you do? I mean, you're buying an awful lot of stuff. I mean, and so, you know, when you get confronted with that, I guess there's this fear that they're going to think something, you know, negative about it, but I know I need to get out of my head on that. I was thinking a minute ago when you said that about feeling bad for making that purchase on the silverware, you know, I've run into that sometimes too. And I mentioned that before, I think commenting in a video too, but I've thought a lot of times, you know, like you said, we're investing in it. We take on all the risk. And I think about all the times I made a bad buy or bought stuff that didn't work or, you know, or didn't pan out. And not one time has anybody chased me down and tried to give me my money back because I made a bad buy. So, I mean,
That's right.
we probably, and we've got to make up for those too, is what I'm saying. If we didn't have a really, really good buy sometimes, I mean, we wouldn't make enough to really make it work, I don't think.
That's true. That is absolutely true.
Especially electronics, man.
Oh, electronics is one of the most sketchy categories.
Yeah.
That used to be one of my biggest single categories. I would buy every VCR DVD player.
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
buy every stereo system.
yeah.
I'd buy it all. This rack right here, all the way through there I have them standing up. I'd have like 25, 30 units back through there.
Mhm.
And I got to the point where, I was spending 20, 30 bucks per sometimes.
Yep.
And I'd bring them home, plug them up. They don't work. And I'm like, man, 20 bucks at a whack adds up.
It does.
In no time, you'll have $5,000 lost. But so I still buy that stuff, but I'm really particular now. Like I want it to look really clean and I
Right.
want it to test. I want to be able to plug it up if I can at all.
That's the key.
I like to get the remote. It's not a deal breaker, but yeah, I don't do near as much electronics, and a lot of people don't do it because they're afraid of the shipping. Oh, that's so huge.
It's
That
not
don't
hard.
bother me at all. No,
It's
that
really
don't
not
bother
hard.
us.
I mean, I want to sell it for $100. I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, if you give me $100 bill, I'll pack it, but I'll just pack it. But we used to, when we first started, before we was really good packers, I was so afraid of that stuff getting broken. I actually went to the Dollar Tree and bought pool noodles, and I would slice them in half and make a layer on the bottom of the box. On top of the box, I'd go all the way around those things with pool noodles. I'm going to tell you what, if you can afford to do that, it's expensive, but if you can afford it, they ain't getting broke because there's like an inch of foam all the way around.
Right. And I save anything like that I get. And that's one of the things that I started doing on those. Like if I have enough, I try to keep any extra pieces of foam. I'll just take, and it may sound a little kooky, but I'll take like a square of the foam, just a smaller piece, because it's not going to break, and I'll slide it under the bottom and put a piece on the top. And then I'll either use it just takes a small piece on each side. You don't have to totally encase it. And I mean, it's got that cushion. If the box hits on any of those sides, it's going to hit styrofoam and not the item. And so I've done that quite a bit. My wife also, she works with the county health department in Tuscaloosa. She's a nurse supervisor over home health, and they get a lot of supplies in, and so I can have as many, like the airbags and stuff, or whatever you call them, the big air, as much as I want.
Sweet.
The clean, she asked the cleaning lady, she said, "You reckon you could save some of those boxes and all that packing stuff for us?" She started bringing, like, I'm talking about like giant boxes, like a console TV would fit in,
Oh my
and they were just full of that stuff. We had to stop her because I had so much. I had like 5 or 6 boxes in the garage, 2 or 3 boxes of it in the house.
Wow.
I said, until I use some of it, let's just wait, use it up. But it's nice to have access to that stuff.
Absolutely. That's the way my paper right here was. I had about 50 rolls of that at one time. I had it in here piled up. I had it in my other building piled up, and now I'm down to like 10 rolls. So I haven't been to get any in a while, but I'm going to have to go back and get some.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, people get on, Chris stays on me all the time. You don't use free priority box. No, but I get plenty of free stuff. Don't you worry about it, buddy. I get plenty of free stuff.
Well, the priority boxes, I use those a lot initially, and I still will use one on occasion. On occasion, Ground Advantage will be like $7.35 for me on the closer ships, and it'll be $7.20 for priority. And so it makes a lot of sense for me to use a priority box in that case, because I'm not just saving the 20 cents. I'm also saving the cost of my box that I'm going to have to use. But most of the time, the difference in the shipping between priority and ground covers the cost of my box, and I still get at least a quarter back in my pocket just to use my own box. And that's probably 90% of orders. So I just don't, I default to buying boxes.
I haven't run the numbers. Look at me acting like Rocky Top Picker, pointing that. I haven't run the numbers.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Little shout out for you, Ben.
Yeah.
But I haven't run the numbers on that, but I'm pretty sure you're right that it is probably close. I would say it's 75 to 90% of the time that my order is going out Ground Advantage over Priority Mail. Now, like this week, we had like 17, 18 orders. I think I used Priority 3 times. That's 3 times I would have saved on a box. But what I do, I have a store subscription, so I always use that credit money on boxes. You know, Chris says buy tape. Well, I get tape from American Bubble Boy. And so, I mean, I prefer to do that. That's just a preference. I could probably save some money, but it's not like, I think at the end of the day, when I done my figures, I'd probably go a few $100s in the hole every year on supplies. So if you're talking a few $100s, not a few thousand, I'm okay with that. If we was talking a few $1,000s, I'd definitely be using those free boxes. Absolutely. And I mean, I've honestly thought about, see, I've got this shed pretty maxed out. Like I don't have a lot of places to put anything, and that's by design. I have tried to use every nook and cranny and little space that I can to store and boxes. But I've got a place over here under this table where I keep bubbles. If I do what I think I'm going to do, up here, I'll show you guys on YouTube, up here on that where them bubbles are, I think I'm going to build me across that a flat surface. Just take plywood or some 1x4s or something, flat surface. Then I can turn them bubbles sideways and double stack them. And I've got some shelves under a table here where I keep those bubbles right now. I could actually build a shelf in the middle and have 4 slots. So if I do that, I'd have room to expand into 4 more box sizes. And if I do that, I may actually try some free priority boxes. So that's big news on this podcast, I do believe.
Yeah. But, you know, like I said, for me, and it honestly, I think it would cost me money because of the difference in the shipping cost at the end of the day. Because I've looked at it pretty close and I don't order a lot of boxes. I mostly buy boxes from Walmart, like a lot of people. I mean, I have a hard time finding them much cheaper than just grabbing those 68 and 75-cent boxes off the shelf at Walmart.
I do the same thing. That one right there's a Walmart. There's one right behind me. That one's a Walmart. And then I've got 4 sizes of eBay box. Right. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. I wanted to ask you about something too. How you got started on YouTube, because this intrigues me. I found you. I think you actually tagged me in one of your videos. One of the first people that ever tagged me, and I'm like, I don't even know what this is. So I kind of come over and checked it out, and I'm like, oh, he somehow got, you got my notification to pop up or something. And I'm like, okay, so I'll check this out. And I was like, man, what I love about your channel, and I know I'm talking about your channel, I ask you to, but I'm going to give you a chance. But what I love about your channel is what I say all the time is you're real. I love real people. I told my wife, if I want to watch a TV show, or if I want to catch actors, I'm going to go in and watch Andy Griffith and Barney, and watch them.
Oh, act, right.
If I'm looking for real help on eBay, I want you to not just be an actor or a player or somebody that's a pretender, because, somebody's going to make this comment. I'm sure Caleb said that. Well, I did. And I'm saying this, that not everybody out there that is on YouTube is a success on eBay. They're not everybody. Right. And kudos to them. They've built a huge YouTube channel. They don't have to be a success on eBay anymore. They're just creating content at this point. I'm not dogging that, but I'm just saying, I want the advice of the guy that's down in the trenches and he's out there digging and he's doing the work. I want to know how he's making it.
Well, and the truth is, I mean, a lot of those, they do have a good knowledge of eBay and how it works.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, once you move away from making that a priority, you will slip on what's trending. You'll slip on what's changing with eBay. Yeah. I mean, and some of them, and some of the ones I really like to watch, they've even admitted in their videos, look, we don't really give eBay a lot of attention anymore. Sometimes we let it go for weeks at a time without even putting anything on or without even doing much, just kind of let it ride like it is. And if you don't stay, active with it, you can't stay current on what's going on in that particular arena. So I totally agree with you there. And, as far as how I got into YouTube, if I'm being honest, I wish I would have started right when I started doing eBay. I wish I'd have started from day one. Like,
Me too.
look, we're starting this out as a side hustle, and just let's learn together. And the more I learn, the more I'll share. And so I would have to give credit to all the other YouTubers uh, that are putting out reselling content, and like you said, that are real and doing quality content, that know what they're talking about. Because I'm a sponge. I'm a learner. Always have been. I love to know things. I get immersed in it, and that's really where I started. I mean, I spent a year nearly just learning, just watching content and taking notes. I mean, literally like memorizing, building my knowledge of product, my knowledge of eBay before I ever even set up a store. I mean, and so I can't say that I know everything that I know 100% just by experience. That'd be a lie, but I've tried almost everything that I'm talking about. That's the things that I focus on, because that's where I'm at. And I think as we learn and we grow, and especially from each other, I love this being a part of the community. And I think that's why ultimately I got involved with YouTube. Once I decided I wasn't going to go back to the school, I didn't have any coworkers, and I'm a social person. And so,
Yeah.
I could be detached and watch all of these people on YouTube and still have my work family, that I interacted with on a daily basis, and just kind of lurk in the shadows like so many do that watch our videos. I didn't have an
Yep.
account. I didn't click a thumbs up. I didn't make any comments, and I wasn't doing it to not support. I mean, to me, like I said, social media wise, 100%, I chose to stay anonymous, especially because of my job. And
Right.
so, I mean, that was just my approach to it. So once I stepped out from that and I knew I wasn't going to be teaching at that point, I said, okay, I'm opening up the doors. I'm going to do YouTube. I'm going to try to learn about these other platforms that I've been hearing about, because I want to be a part of the community. I want to know some of the people. Instead of just seeing them, I want to know them.
Right.
And do my best to contribute. I mean, I spent my life teaching, and if once you learn something, if you can communicate that well to someone else and help them, I think that's one of the best things that you can ever do. And so uh, I'm still learning how to do that over this kind of a platform. It's a lot different being in front of a camera versus being in front of people. But I enjoy it, and I'm learning as I go.
So are you going to give Kevin Commonwealth Picker a run for his money at being the teacher YouTuber before long?
Well, I'm probably smarter than him, but
Oh boy. Oh boy.
well, we got to do something. Got to say something controversial. No,
Oh,
look, he's one of the first ones that I started watching, honestly, and because of the way he relates it to his past job, it helped it make sense for me how I could do what I'm doing. Because it fully transparent. I mean, it's only been a few months since I decided, okay, I'm going to try to do this full time. I'm still trying to ramp up. I'm still trying to focus on growing the eBay side of things so that the income begins to get closer and match what I was making. I I answered, someone had asked me a question about that, and I told them, I said, well, I had never, like, our gross income before everything comes out, I had never grossed $60,000 until the last year I worked. We got a raise, and it put me just a little bit over 60. Before that, only for like the last 5 years that I was a teacher had I even reached 50,000 gross. And so anybody that knows anything about taxes and insurance and all the stuff that gets cut out, they know that by the time all that's subtracted, the amount that's actually coming into your house is not a large portion of that. I mean, that's the gross number. So I mean, you're talking about $28,000-$30,000 or so of money take home, probably out of
yep.
that. I mean, so when I made the comment, look, I don't have to make a fortune to
Right.
replace my bring home income that I had. I mean, my last 5 years or so was like $2,400 a month before I got that raise that last year. So I mean, from doing eBay, you can work at it kind of slow and make a little over $2,000 a month.
You can.
So I mean, I wasn't intimidated by trying to replace the income.
That's awesome. No, I remember Tanya, one of her first things she told me was, and I'm still working full time at this point. She said, let's see, we was probably month old YouTube, or not YouTubers, resellers. She said, let's see if we can pay our bills with eBay. not with any other money. And I'm like, Tanya, that's like $1,500, because at the time we had just paid off our house. We didn't have any debt, but by the time you buy groceries, you pay your insurances, you pay your lights, your water, your internet, everything like that is around $1,500 a month. So I'm like, yeah, I don't see eBay being that lucrative. Well, we did it first month, and I'm like, wow, okay, now I'm getting hyped up. I hadn't watched a Harry Tornado or a Commonwealth Picker I hadn't watched anybody. I didn't even know there was such a thing as a eBay community, reselling community on YouTube. Wow. I had no idea. So she introduced me to some of those guys, and shout out to Lonnie and Candace over at Shed Flips.
Shed Flips, awesome.
They, a lot of people I'm sure think Lonnie and Candace are they're not as personable. Well, I mean, they're not trying to make entertainment content.
They're just real, man.
They're being real, and they're trying to share their knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's what I was looking for. And that's where I learned, and I don't watch a ton of content, of reselling content now, simply because I'm so busy, between our home life, the church, the eBay, the YouTube, homeschool. Now we're trying to enroll my daughter and my niece in our local trade school. They're going to take some classes there. I mean, it seems like there's never a moment that's just free. Like, it's always something. So I don't have like a lot of time to just sit down and turn on all these channels. So when I'm watching like you, and I'm watching Lucky 7 Auction, and I'm watching the smaller channels, people I really like, I'm doing it while I'm working. Like while I'm listing, I've got 2 monitors set up here, and I'm working here, and on half of this one, on the other half, a little small section is YouTube. I'm listening, watching in between, paying attention. But I mean, YouTube is such a funny thing. Like when Chris goaded me into this, I wasn't really looking for this to ever become my income at all whatsoever. I didn't think YouTube would ever pay me a dime.
Right.
And that's not saying that I didn't think we'd have supporters, because I knew the supporters here would support me over there. I mean, they already had me at 100 subs by the time I got started. Obviously, they're going to support me. But I never really considered, hey, this will actually pay out someday. Well, here we are, 13 videos, I guess, later, and it is becoming reality that it will. And I'm not saying it's going to be like, huge money, but hey, if YouTube pays you $100 a month, well, there's $100 peace of mind if eBay don't perform quite as well, and anytime you can kind of tip the scales in your favor a little more, I don't see nothing wrong with that, as long as you're doing it honestly and, all that. But
And that's the thing. I mean, I think, and like I've appreciated all the, I mean, you especially, I mean, from the beginning, helping me out and bringing up my name in videos, chats, doing things to help me, and all the others, I mean, whether it's a shout out on Instagram. I know Grandson Pops did that one day. Rocky Top had me on the live. Jay Ride has mentioned me a couple of times in his lives, and I mean, you can see the difference in how it affects your sub rate right after that happens. It's obvious that that's the way that works. But I think we all also understand that the best growth that any of us can have, it's like that video that perform so well for you. The best growth you'll ever have is that organic growth that comes because somebody stumbled across your channel. They watched it, they liked it enough that they chose to subscribe of their own volition without any influence whatsoever. Because we can have a ton of subscribers and have no watchers, and that doesn't do us any good, or have no watch hours. But I know too that those numbers change. Like for me, even if a lot of the people that subscribe just click subscribe and don't come back, just having that little bit of traction, that little bit of activity on my channel helps me in the algorithm a little bit about popping up in front of people like us that are searching maybe for small YouTube content, because it tracks what you look for, and it feeds you what you're trying to consume.
So did you ever think you'd be doing Two Old Guys Reselling Podcast?
No, but and I get, honestly, don't take this wrong way. When you did the little 10-minute thing, announcing that, when Chris put me back for a little while, and I thought, well, big news. I thought, well, I bet he's going to get some people to help him. I thought, well, maybe he'll ask me to help him one of the shows or something, And I told my wife this, and then you literally sent me a message like, "Hey, would you like to guest host?" And I thought, you got to be kidding me. I showed my wife. I was like, I was excited. No, I mean, when I started watching y'all, of course not. But with the situation like it is, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to do it. I think, what y'all do, you and Chris, it's all the podcasts are great. I think y'all's is unique in a lot of ways. It's different. To me, when I watch y'all, and they're all good, they all offer something. To me, one of the things when I watch y'all, it's like I sat down in the living room with a couple of my friends or my, guys from church or something, and just had a snack and something to drink, and just sat around just chewing the cud, as we say in the South, and just cutting up and having a good time and talking about life. And so to me, like, I can put something like that on in the background while I'm working. And, it is entertaining. It may not be intended to be entertaining. It may not be the goal, but it is,
not so much information, but definitely entertaining.
But sometimes you just need something, something real that makes you feel like you've had some just regular conversation, regular interaction with another adult. And that's what it does for me. So.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to ask you a couple more questions because I don't want to keep you all night, but
we're good.
one of the most important questions that you're ever going to get asked on this show is, do you like wrestling?
Yes.
You're all right then. You'll get invited back.
I don't watch as much anymore. I think, like you said, I mean, there's not time to do a lot of things right now. I know my life has been that way for a while now. I actually, the last year that I was teaching, I was working on a second master's degree that entire year. And so, I mean, I was working like mad. I was staying up all night doing that and doing eBay and taking care of my mom and working on trying to get that house started in the midst of, I tore my tendon loose on my elbow. I had to have that surgery. All the stuff that's going on in that same 12 months. I mean, it was a jam-packed. I'm telling you, I burnt myself out. I burnt myself out completely. And, at that moment when I started that, I thought that, we thought mom was going to be, stable enough with her dementia to be able to be more independent longer than what she was. And then it just, it's weird. They can be in the same place for 6 months, and then it's like 2 weeks passes, and it's like you don't even recognize how much progress, how much forward, how much difference it's been. And so we kind of just progressed really fast there at one point, and then we've been kind of in the same place again. But that, like I said, we kind of come to that conclusion. I was finishing that up at the same time that we were realizing that things were going to have to change. So I don't know where I was going with all that, but my point is time is at a premium. And so you have to kind of pick and choose what you devote your time to. And unfortunately, staying caught up on the wrestling world is not one that I get to do. But I loved it, especially when I was a kid. I watched countless hours of wrestling.
Well, yeah, I know because I hear through the grapevine and stuff what goes on from time to time. I know Ric Flair showed up. I mean, I know things like that, but I don't sit down and watch it like, when I was a kid on Monday nights, you did nothing else but watched Raw and Nitro, and you taped one and watched the other, and then you made up to the other one by watching that one next week and taping the other one. I mean, it was just constant like that. And when I was probably like 14, I guess 13, 14, when the Monday Night Wars was going on, and man, that was like a huge thing for boys that old. Like every boy in my school, they would all come to me because I watched some of the pay-per-views, and
me too.
They'd be like, "What happened?" And I'm like, "I guess you'll find out tonight," But no, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, and that can be good and bad, because when me and my wife got married, I was buying every WWF back then, WWF pay-per-view, every WCW pay-per-view. I wasn't really an ECW guy. I never caught on to all that much, but I was buying both of those. And at that time, they were like $40 a piece.
Oh yeah.
I was spending $80 every month on wrestling. And she's like, "Are you serious?" Like women don't quite understand. They didn't understand, but whatever. But no, I mean, it used to be, I mean, it used to be like a consuming thing for me to the point, and I've not told a lot of people this, especially on here, but when I first started preaching, I had to sit that aside.
Yeah.
Because it took over, and I had to
Right.
say, make a choice here. God was like, you can preach or you can do that, but you're not going to be able to do both.
Yeah.
So that got kicked to the back. And I don't even think I watched wrestling at all for like 10 years. I don't think I even knew anything about it for like 10 years. And, like I said, I hear through the grapevine now, but a lot of these people that you see on TV, it's like, who in the world is that? I don't even have a clue.
Oh yeah. No, I don't know the new ones very well.
I've heard
A
of
few
Roman
them, the big
Reigns.
name. Yeah. Roman Reigns, of course.
I know Ben's going to go take Roman Reigns down one day because he's going to be the next big thing in wrestling.
Yeah.
But Rocky Top all the way.
That's right.
But we do talk wrestling. My day ended probably, I don't know, probably around the 2000 era, 1, 2, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And
early 2000s for me as well.
Yep.
You know,
do you remember when Sid jumped off the top rope and snapped his leg? You remember that?
Oh.
I was watching that. That was so horrible. Oh my goodness. I felt so bad for him.
And that's the thing. I know it's scripted. I think that's always been the argument, when they say, oh, it's not real. It's just, well, it's acting. I mean, I get that. It's scripted.
It is.
But, they're still getting hit. They're still jumping from 30 foot sometimes. I mean, they're doing all this, all that part's real. You can't fake that. That's not
fake
CGI.
a spaghetti noodle breaking in half, laying on the mat, flopping around. Oh, that was so bad.
I mean, so I think it gets a bad rap on that part, but my time period on that was about the same.
Yeah, it's like anything else. You said it right. It's acting. The same people that say that probably sit around watching, Days of Our Lives during the day. Did you see what they did? And it's like, look, that's worse than what we watch, But anyway.
And cry when somebody dies for the 18th time.
That's exactly right. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, what you said about the wrestling, laying that down thing, that kind of happened. That happened for me, but it wasn't wrestling. It was college football. So I kind of had the same thing happen. I reached a point in my early 20s where it was when it was college football season, I'd watch every game that come on. I'd watch all day on Saturday. And I watched other stuff too. I love basketball and football and stuff, but I was just so into that. I followed recruiting, I was constantly on ESPN and SI at the time, CNN SI and these other little sites and stuff. And it just, began to be a burden to me of, from the Lord about, how much time it was taken away from me, and with all the other responsibilities I had and with church and I teach Sunday school at church too. I've taught Sunday school for like 25 years. Since I was a teenager, I started teaching the younger classes, and I've taught the adult class all but a couple of years of the last 15 to 20 years. And so, and I don't use literature, like as far as like, any printed stuff. We're an independent church. We were taught, you go hunt it and depend on the Lord and it's up to you, to come up with a lesson and come up with whatever. So to do it well, you have to spend a lot of time. That's what began to be kind of like a burden to me, that I was investing more time in things like college football than I was in being prepared to do what I was being asked to do by the Lord. And so I had to kind of do the same thing. I didn't even watch Alabama play for several years. Now I do now, but I don't watch every game. I watch the big game, and sometimes I'm in and out of the room. If I ever start feeling like I'm getting too attached, I'll just get up and leave the room and go do something that's more important.
That's the same way when I remember one of the last times that I was really, really having trouble. We had just bought the house we live at now, and we've been here for like 16 years. And I had to have satellite. And I'm not knocking anybody that has it. I'm just saying, Tanya, I have to have it. I have to have it. We've got this big old TV, I've got to have this satellite. And it just kind of left me. I just lost complete interest in it. We cut it off after the first, it's like a year. You have to do it for a year or whatever. And once that time come, it was like $100 a month. I'm like, let's just cut it out. And now I have a TV antenna. I get like 40 channels where we live. perfect, crystal clear,
Yeah.
I don't watch any of it hardly. When I go in of an evening, if we sit down for supper, we might turn on like Wheel of Fortune or Andy
Yeah.
Griffith or something like that, or I might turn on something before I go to bed. This is a really good time to do this, by the way. Turn on something like Forensic Files or how this guy killed this guy, and then go right to bed on that. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great
Good
time
way
to
of
do.
wrapping at it.
But I like stuff like that, that is more reality based. Like you're actually learning something instead of just filling your brain with
Yeah.
nothing. And I'm not against,
Absolutely.
I mean, I won't watch a lot of stuff nowadays because it's just so bad, but I'm not
Yeah.
against watching TV. Don't get me wrong. I mean, my favorite show growing up, probably if I had to pick one show, would have probably been MASH. And now I know if you go watch MASH, they sit around and drink all the time and they cuss and all that. Probably. I don't really remember that well, but I'm sure they do that.
Yeah.
But I just don't watch stuff like that anymore.
Yeah.
Just don't have time, don't have the desire. And a lot of people will understand this. When you resell and have other priorities like we've been talking about, you will prioritize, because if man, I spent $1,000 this weekend at yard sales. If you know that to be true,
Yeah.
and you know that you've got 50 million things sitting in your shed that you could be making money on,
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. I'm going to go
Right.
list and
Right.
draft and build up my inventory. And I missed a lot of stuff. And we didn't even watch the Vols play their bowl game this year. I didn't watch that. I think we watched a couple Vols games, and I'm just like you, if I happen to be home and it happens to be time and I notice it, hey, I'll watch it. And I like the Vols. I like football and I like basketball, but I watch the World Series usually every year because it's October. It's starting to cool off. There ain't really much to do outside, and it's on at
Yeah.
night. And hey, it'll be on, so I'll turn that on.
Right. Right.
But I mean, it's just priorities.
It
What
is. It
what
is.
really matters in your life. You got to decide for yourself.
And I think with the YouTube thing, and like you said, I mean, I'm so far from even considering that or thinking about that, but I think long term, if a person stays committed, just like with eBay, if you stay committed and stay consistent and try to get, whatever you said is your goal. I know, like you wanted to have a video every week. I kind of wanted to do 2 a week. I've not been good about having the same time, same day on mine. I need to work on that. But that was kind of my goal. And I know I had that little spell, but I'm telling you, like, I couldn't even talk 3 or 4 days ago. Like I had like 1 or 2 days where it'd be okay. And then I would just almost be full on laryngitis. And
Wow.
so from all the coughing, I nearly had pneumonia. So
Oh my
I had 2 runs of antibiotics and shots and breathing treatments. And I mean, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad for a few weeks. And
wow.
I actually had to go today. I've got a hernia that's it's like up on under my chest. It's not high. It's not like the one that makes you have reflux. It's on the side, kind of to my chest over here. But I'm pretty sure the muscle tore worse while I was coughing because I had a real sharp pain. And man, it's just been killing me. So I went to the doctor today and had to get a referral for a surgeon for that. So there's always something going on. But it's those things make sometimes stuff happens is what I'm saying. Even when you have a plan and even when you're trying to be committed and follow through, things can get in your way and interrupt it. But I think consistency though is so important, whether it's eBay or it's YouTube. And what I was going to say when I started out was over time, you should see nothing but growth if you stay consistent in whatever genre you're working in. If you do a good job, you do the prep. And like, I really think, like you said, like being real. I know there's a segment of population out there. They just want something that's entertaining only. But there's this educational stuff, especially there's a need for it. And there's a lot of people that are trying to learn, and it may make it more challenging for us as more people get attracted into it, but that's okay. I mean, it's just part of it.
I've been really surprised by the people that will comment on my videos and say, I've never heard of that. Like I mentioned this last week, like I think it was about ending your listings and doing them as sell similars.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of comments about, hey, I tried that trick. Never knew about that. Like one guy said, I've been a lifetime eBayer 25 years and I tried it and it helped. I'm like, see, I just assume because I know it, everybody's going to know it, right? But that's not the
Right.
case. But I
And,
mean, it's amazing what people don't know.
and it's like they're coming up with topics. It's like for some, you know, like with you, you know, like if you're watching like, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about this group of people, you know, that I know has helped me, that's watching out for my stuff to come out, that always watches it. I'm thinking, I don't want to be redundant and do the same
Yep.
things over and over. But the truth is, there's only so many topics to address.
Yep.
And, you know, if you talked about that in this video, after a few weeks, it's not going to populate for most people that are searching anymore. So if you
Yep.
don't do another video on it 2 months down the road, then those random people that don't know about you, because there's millions of them on YouTube that might
Yep.
be searching that day, they'll have a chance to learn that. And it may be some redundancies for some of us, but you know, we're not always watching so we can know how to do an end and sell similar. You know, we're watching because we want to see what sold, maybe, you know, and
That's
try to
right.
find some new bolos to look for. So
That's right. I think I forgot to mention this at the beginning, and I'm sure we're going to have all kinds of people hanging out to the end. Hopefully we will.
I hope
But
so.
if you're not subscribed to Josh over at Bama Jaybird Resell, I will link him down below. Go follow him, subscribe to him, and check him out, guys, because if you're looking for somebody that's just real and genuine, he is that. And smart. And doing good business over there. Like, you know, I guess when I find new content, I expect them to be new resellers too. At the same time, that's just in your mind.
Right.
But you're not a new reseller. You're doing a good job
I
and
appreciate that.
at that. But yeah, I
We're,
mean,
we're trying.
let me ask you this, and you can bring anything out of it that you want. If you had to give the reseller that's watching this show right now, you know, that's just getting started, trying to discover the tricks, the secrets to eBay, like what do I need to do to be successful? What would be your number one piece of advice to that reseller?
You know, we throw out to each other about being consistent, and I think that applies maybe more to us that's been doing it a while. I'm not saying that you don't need to be consistent starting out, but I think really starting out, more than anything, you need to build your knowledge base. You can't just walk into a thrift store not knowing anything. I mean, yeah, we know how to comp things on our phone right on the spot, but someone that's green and just watched the video and walks in, they're probably not going to really understand what it is they're doing when they try to look something up or how to look it up. I think watching the content that the good content creators are putting out that shows what's being sold, it's important what's being sold. I love to go on the hunt. I love to film that. I love to share that, but not everything I pick up is a home run. You know, I mean, just being real. I mean, sometimes I think it's great. Sometimes right on the spot, I think it's going to be great. And then I realize, well, maybe it's not so good. But when it sells, when we see what's selling, that makes a difference. I don't know if that's where everybody would start, but I know for me, I think it's important not to, some people say just jump right in. I think it's important in this particular arena to be careful how quickly you begin to commit any of your income to it. Make sure you know something before you start. Take some time to learn, do some investigation, lay a plan out for yourself that I'm going to learn about some of the products and know some things to look for before I ever go to source the first time. And then learn how to use your phone, to use eBay, to look stuff up and comp it correctly to see if it sells when you're not familiar. Those are essential things, because if you don't buy good inventory, it don't matter how good you do everything else, you're not going to have sales.
That's right. That's good advice. You know, yeah, you could jump in head first. If you don't know how to swim, what happens, right? You're going to drown.
Well, I tell people I'm the only Navy brat ever that can't swim, but that's the truth. I was only one of my three brothers. My dad got out of the Navy and he quit teaching all that stuff.
Wow.
He said he didn't want to fish. He didn't want to be on water ever again. So I grew up. I didn't even get to learn to swim. As bad as that sounds.
Wow. Well, man, this has been fun. I've had a good time talking to you.
Me too. I've enjoyed it greatly.
You got anything you want to add before we head out?
Just be watching. I'm going to try to put a video together on this. I'll share this real quick. I went to Amory, Mississippi yesterday, and I made a purchase off of Facebook. I had contacted a guy. He had put a bunch of media up for sale, mostly music stuff. And it was CDs, DVDs, which I don't buy a ton of usually. But it just looked really good in the picture. And I mean, it was a big lot of it. He wanted $500. I contacted him. He sent me a bunch of pictures, counted up all the stuff, a bunch of pictures of all the items, tons of box sets, tons of recorded concerts and things like that. And I mean, from very familiar, it was mostly 60s and 70s, like rock and roll. Anyway, he wound up messaging back, said he'd take $425 if I would come to Amory to pick it up, which is about an hour and a half from where I live. I said, well, if I can come Monday, I'll bring cash and I'll get it. I'm telling you, it's like 14 boxes full to the top of media. There's over 1,500 pieces.
Good.
And I brought one box in the house. And like, this is 4 items. I set some beside me. I've been looking them up before I got on here with you.
Sweet.
Okay. Yeah. 2 or 3 of them are sealed. Okay. There's 3 stacks just out of this one box of CDs that there's probably like, I guess there's about 60 or 70 sitting there. They're all sealed.
Wow.
I hadn't comped any of those. The stuff that I comped about 6 items and about $400 in comps just out of the box sets.
Jeez, man, you did good.
I got 13 boxes.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. And it's just, I mean, it was giving me, I almost had chill bumps going through it. I was like, holy cow, this could be like what you talk about the Civil War. This could end up being several $1,000s. It's like Beatles and the King. It's all these British bands. And,
British
like, he was in a rock and roll band, and he's got all these box sets and collections. Have you heard of the Kinks before? I bet he's got 100 CDs of the Kinks. And like,
goodness,
like this right here, I looked it up. This comped to like $75 to $100 in used condition. Yeah. I mean,
goodness.
So I guess I'm going to be listing a lot of media.
But hey, I like media. I mean, it's not all created the same, but some of it can be really good. I found out that the BBC DVD stuff, some of that can be unreal how good it is.
I look everyone I see up because you just never know.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, let's end this show on our sale of the week, and we'll throw out a dad joke before we head out.
Sounds good.
Since you're the guest, I'll let you go first on sale of the week. What you got?
Okay. Well, this will be, I think I filmed this. So it'll be my next What Sold video that I release, probably be maybe the end of the week, maybe the first of next week. But I found a flip clock. It's been several months back. It needed some cleaning. And I knew flip clocks were good. I automatically knew I was going to buy it. It was $7 at thrift store. Excuse me. But I didn't even comp it on the spot because I knew at $7 I was buying it. Well, I got it home. I cleaned it up. I got to trying to look it up. I couldn't find any sold comps. Couldn't find it at all. Not that exact clock. I could find the brand. Couldn't find it. So I had to look outside of eBay. And this just recently. I just posted this last week. It sold within 8 hours. Full asking price. So it's a Copal Caslon model 601. And it was like the brushed aluminum housing. It included, like, it's got the date and month too on it. And so when I found them outside of eBay, the refurbished models were priced at as much as $500.
Jeez.
I went into Terapeak, and the sold comps, like one sold on auction for like $80 that was working, which is crazy why someone would do that, because there were other sold comps for $250 to $300.
Yeah.
But there hadn't been any on eBay in a while. Like, those were older. And so I thought, I'm going to price it like it's as rare as it seems. So I put $400 on it. Like, literally 10 seconds after it went live, somebody was trying to give me $200 for it. And I was like, and I said, I'm going to pass. I was really trying to be nice about it. I said, if I end up dropping the price that much, I will contact you and let you be the first to buy it. I said, it's only been on there 5 minutes. I had to take my mom it's called Caring Day. She goes there a couple of days. They work with people with dementia. I had to carry her down there Friday, that next morning. This is last Friday. And so we're on the way to Tuscaloosa to carry her down there, and my phone cha-chings. And I thought, that's great, got a sale. I looked down, and it's the clock. And I thought, you got to be kidding, because I didn't get an offer. So I opened it up while I'm driving because I had to find out. Sold for full asking price, $400.
Wow.
7 into 400. So, man, that was a happy drive, man.
That's awesome.
I'm going to spend it all sourcing today.
That's a good sale. That's awesome. And I just learned something. I have to be on the lookout for those.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tanya, talking about the silverware, she has sold about 5 or 6 sets of this exact. Well, not this exact. We sold 4 pieces this weekend, four listings of silverware. All total, it was half of our weekend sales. It was almost $400. So it's
That's awesome,
crazy.
man.
But one listing for 3 forks went for $104. So I was like, I still, every time we video that and we sell some, I looked at the camera and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you guys.
Blows
Like,
my mind, man.
it absolutely, who's got the money to buy 3
Look,
forks, $35, $40 a fork, hey, I'll do that.
I don't know how your imagination is, but look, in my mind, I'm seeing someone like putting 3 forks in a shadow box and hanging it on the wall. I mean, if you're spending that much money on them, why are you going to be eating with them?
I'm not, I'm going to polish them and
Golly.
hang them on the wall. That's
I'm
right.
telling you.
Oh my goodness. No, that still blows my mind. I mean, every time I
Yeah.
see one, and we had some sell for 30, and we had 2 sell for 104 actually, and another one sell for 99. And I'm like, this is killing me. I just don't know.
Yeah. I picked some up recently because of seeing your videos and seeing Grams and Pops videos. And they I forget who it is. They said that they had seen selling it, which turned them onto it. But watching y'all make these sales, I was like, I got to start paying attention to it. And I picked up a bunch at the thrift store. I was there when they pushed the cart out, and it was those stapled bags. And there was just tons of Cambridge and Oneida and Rogers in these bags. And usually it's just a few butter knives hanging on the wall.
Yeah.
But I mean, I walked out with about 12 packs that I'm sorting through and trying to get arranged and organized and figured out. So I don't know if I got anything that good, but hopefully make a little bit off of it.
It can be rewarding. Well, this is called Oneida Rushmore. And I mean, we didn't, it's a very plain looking, there's nothing fancy. It's just a plain looking fork. So I didn't expect it. I expected them to be like $25 for a set when I looked them up. Right. When they're comping out at $100, I'm like, jeez, somebody's lost their mind, but anyway, we have like a quantity of 27 of those left. Right. I mean, crazy stuff. But it's definitely, and like I've talked to Scott at Trading Post Pickers, he called me this week and we was talking about it. And if I could just have this shed full of silverware at this point, I believe I would. Because you could have like 20,000 listings on eBay of silverware. I mean,
and how easy is that to list and ship?
It's simple, super simple.
That's
most
of
the time is if it's a little dirty, you got to clean it. And I'm telling you, if you guys need to know about all that stuff, go to Trading Post Pickers and watch their channel. They know about. Christina has the insight on all that cleaning stuff. And I mean, just, it's amazing. But like we was talking about, the footprint is so small, like $40 in, one sale broke even. And then you've got 60 more available. Where else are you going to get that kind of overhead? You just can't do it. All right. Hit me with a dad joke.
I got 2. Can you take 2 of them?
Maybe.
What do you call 2 ducks and a cow?
2 ducks and a cow. I don't know.
Quackers and milk.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
How do you make a Kleenex dance?
You put a little boogie in it. Yeah. I got you on that one. All right. I got you on that one. Okay.
What you got?
So when does a joke turn into a dad joke?
Oh, man, I know this one. Go ahead and tell me because it ain't coming to me. I've heard this one, though.
When it becomes apparent.
That's it. Yes. Oh, I could get in my mind when it becomes an adult. I knew it's when it becomes. I just couldn't get it. Wasn't coming out. Good one, though. That's a good one.
I've got a million of them because Google has a million of them. Awesome. Well, any last words before we head out?
I just want to say I appreciate you. Appreciate Chris for letting me fill in. I hope he gets to feeling better. Hope things, kind of turn for his family. I know we all face some difficult stuff from time to time, and but we know where our help comes from, and we'll definitely be keeping him in prayer. And again, thank you for inviting me on, and thanks to all the, all the people that have helped me so far with the YouTube side of things. And I'm at a loss for words for just why anyone would take the time to mention me at all. I'm
Same
so
here.
grateful, and I'm thankful most of all to the Lord, because no matter what any of us do or anybody does for us, I know nothing good comes my way without Him, and
Right.
I'm grateful.
Awesome. Well, it's been a joy, man. Thank you for coming on.
And it's been a blast. I enjoyed it so much.
And thank you, everybody, for watching. One more time, if you have not, let's go push Josh over 300 subs. I believe we can do that. That's just 40 of you guys. And there's going to be 400 or 500 of you watching. So go over, Bama Jaybird Resell, sub to his channel. Let's get him pushed towards that 1K mark, get him monetized.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yep. But we appreciate you guys watching. Thank you, Josh, for being here once again. Until next week, Chris, we're praying for you, brother, and looking forward to you getting back. And until next week, this has been Two Old Guys out.